Well, we are a little bit late, but hey, sounding great. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to Garden America. It is 6 minutes after the hour. That's the only time you'll hear a time check here because our friends on Biz Talk Radio, well, they're a little askew because of the playback. This is last week's show as far as you're concerned. With that out of the way, good morning. We are live on Facebook. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox, John Begnasco. Hope you had a good week. Here we go, starting the weekend with a lot of people tuned in already. Thank you for the good mornings. We're looking at your names, a lot of the usual suspects, and a few new people, too, which is always nice. Anyway, we are here ready to go with another great show. Guest is lined up, which we'll get to in our second segment. In the meantime, though, John had a real busy week. He is back with us, tan, rested, and ready, direct from Fallbrook, California, the young man.
We had some rain yesterday.
In the morning early, I'm sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden I hear, what is that pitter-patter? That pitter-patter was a lot of rain.
Well, you've got cats around your house.
But they're not a cat on a hot tin roof. That's the difference.
It was Earth Day yesterday. It rained, right? It was my son's birthday.
Isaac turned 7.
Isaac turned 7. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it was Earth Day and it rained and it was nice. It was just at night, so it was one of those. Yeah. It was one of those. We were not having to change any plans. Rain.
Right. So it rained by about 8 o'clock, 8:30. It was cleared up and we were good to go the rest of the day.
Yeah. Right? It's a good way to do it.
So, John, Fallbrook, how's the weather been up in Fallbrook? Because John lives in a different time zone than we do, Tiger. He's way up north.
Well, it's been cool all week, but this Sunday is the Avocado Festival.
Oh, that's right.
And the joke is always that the Avocado Festival will be the hottest day of the week. So it'll be 90 on Sunday.
Now, avocados, they're not right. I always find it funny when they have festivals, but it doesn't coincide with the ripening of the item. You know what I mean? Like they'll have like an apple festival, but the apples hadn't they're not on the trees or they're not ripening or anything like that. Or the garlic festival, but that doesn't necessarily coincide with the harvesting of garlic.
Yeah, what about that, John?
Why don't they have it when you would be harvesting avocados? Shouldn't that be a better time to have a festival for a particular fruit?
I thought you picked avocados all year round.
Do you?
I don't know.
You different ones?
Like they were always ripe.
We're supposed to be a show that is in the know.
Yeah.
And John's like, I don't know. I thought we did it all year. Anybody else out there got any other ideas? That's great.
Well, if you look at, there's different varieties of avocados that ripen at different times.
No, sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Matter of fact, the holiday avocado that you can plant at your house is called a holiday avocado because it ripens from Labor Day through Valentine's Day.
So what you're saying is different avocados ripen differently, so you have avocados all year, basically, right? Not just one species of avocado.
So we can do an avocado festival.
Maybe Ed Livel's listening, and he'll go,
goodness.
Doesn't sound like John knows what he's talking about.
In other words, you're not going to get a Haas all year.
No.
Or a
right.
They all have, like we talk about with the mandarins, like in those cutie packages or those halo packages. Depending on the time of year when you buy those, they're different varieties of mandarins in those packages.
Right. Exactly.
It's not always the same variety.
Hey,
Gina points out that the reason they don't have it during harvest time is they're too busy harvesting.
that is true too, right?
Hey, I thought Minnie Pearl was listening to us this morning, but it's actually Rochelle.
Minnie
She gave us a howdy. We're showing our age, aren't we, John? Tiger has no idea who we're talking about.
No. There's a rose called Minnie Pearl.
I think, that's right. We talked about that.
It's a miniature rose.
She was part of the Grand Ole Opry country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, country figure.
She was, what was the...
Roy Acuff, all those old guys back in the day.
What was the show that was on?
Hee-Haw?
Hee-Haw, right.
Yeah, she did some Hee-Haw.
Yeah.
Hee-Haw was the country version of Laugh-In, kind of.
You know what that is.
You don't know Laugh-In?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
You're going to start YouTubing these things.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, you missed an era.
We went to Universal Studios, and
$1,000 later? Go ahead.
I was there was a I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this on the radio, but there was a Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds movie, and it was something about
the best little whorehouse in Texas.
Yes, right. And
exactly.
So I was at Universal Studios, and she sang a song, and I'm trying to think of the song, and I was like, I didn't know Dolly Parton originally sang that song, and it was from that movie.
I Will Always Love You.
Yeah,
yeah. That's the original. She sang it.
Whitney Houston did the cover of it, I guess.
But it was
I thought that was Whitney Houston.
It was a Dolly song first. I used to play that on the radio when I was a country DJ.
Yeah, that's the extent of my older movie knowledge, right?
You know, see, the difference between John and myself and you is you can go back 40, 50, 60 years, and there's a lot of great things to learn about and listen to.
Yeah.
But when we were young, you go back 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you're in 1910,
It's Beethoven,
1915.
Mozart.
Yeah, Beethoven, Mozart, exactly. So there wasn't a whole lot of things for us to really get into and be curious about to a certain degree and in terms of enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, where now you can go back and go, oh, that's cool. Back in the 70s, that was cool.
Yeah, if I want to learn new stuff, I just watch the news. It's like all this stuff is new to me.
So you're into fiction.
Yeah.
Basically.
Hey, Tiger Sue says that she just harvested her avocados, and so did her neighbors.
Really?
Yep.
Oh. Which variety,
but again,
Sue? Which variety do you have? Because mine are just now flowering. I'm trying to think of what I have. I think I have bacon.
I'll tell you what you have, Shallow Roots. That was John's rock band back in the 70s. You had the grassroots and the shallow roots.
And deep roots.
My cousin's rock band was called the Cement Flower.
Really?
Yeah.
I always wanted a metal band and call it Threshold of Distortion. So, see, you don't.
Very technical.
See, I don't.
You know, don't you? Do you know what distortion is? If I turn your mic up really loud, you're going to distort. Okay, and be
I've
loud
heard the
and
word
fuzzy.
before, Brian.
So
What's
threshold.
that? I've heard the word
threshold
before.
of it.
Threshold, not quite there. Threshold of distortion.
See, the first thing that came into my mind was System of a Down.
Okay, John's proving that he's kind of hip. There's also social distortion.
Okay.
So we're going to get back to talking about gardening today, everybody, as we kind of drift off now and then, but that's okay. Kind of a peek into our personalities and other aspects of things we enjoy.
You know, I might not be here next Saturday.
Yeah, that's the rumor. That's the rumor going around town.
That sounds funny, though.
I'm not sure.
Okay, now, next weekend, Sunday, is...
Tiger thinks it's funny because at my age, it can mean a lot of different things.
Exactly.
But no, next weekend, we're talking about the rose auction, right? Not your demise.
Right. The rose auction is Sunday, but Saturday I have to get prepared for it.
That's a huge day, too, when you get prepared, getting up early. And
yeah,
boy,
it is. And there's a rose show. If you're in San Diego, it's at the Ronald Reagan Community Center in El Cajon.
Well, there you go again.
So I think the rose show starts, I think it's open to the public around 11 o'clock or something. But then the roses for the auction will be set up probably by 3. And then the next day, you can come and join the auction. It's going to be awesome. Brian and Tiger won't be there.
That's why it's going to be awesome. No, we can't this
No,
year.
I'm really going to miss you guys.
Yeah, and again, normally it's in November. This year moved to May in an entirely different part of town. And I asked you if, moving forward if it's going to be in May, and you weren't sure after this year what's going to happen.
No, because it's the first time we've had one in the spring. It's always November, right?
I guess spring makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, you know, it makes sense for me, too, because now we have so many bidders from around the country that if they're in cold areas of the country, like just this week I sent roses to someone who had won roses in the auction last year.
And they're just
they
now
live
getting
in
their roses.
They live in Minnesota.
Don't
So
you know?
they had snow up until a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
But in the spring, I won't have to hold the roses. They can be shipped as soon as you get them.
Yeah, November, when it's dark and, dreary.
Yeah. Well, if you're interested in seeing the roses offered, go to ccrsauction.com.
Yeah.
And you can find out. And if you want directions to, or you forget where the rose show and auction is, you can go to the San Diego Rose Society's website and take a look.
But you may or may not be here next week.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It depends how setup is going to go.
And then we need to figure out what we want to do.
Yeah.
Bring somebody in, or I don't know.
We won't talk about that in front of John.
Or in front of our listeners and viewers. Okay, hey, we've got just about a minute before our first break. Let's get to John's quote of the week. It's a short quote that gets right to the point.
Hey, Carla says to raise your hand, by the way, if you're going to the auction, because she wants to meet everyone there.
See, that's where I'm a little bummed out that I won't be able to be there with Carla.
Yeah. See everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so the quote of the week, Brian, I picked for you because it was, there it is. Because you always say you want short quotes.
Well,
you always tease me when they're
long,
a paragraph. But this quote was from William Cowper.
Oh yeah,
who was an English poet and hymn writer.
Sure, many of those songs you sing in church credit him.
And I was thinking of our guest today is from Hartley Botanic Greenhouses. And so Cowper said, "Who loves a garden loves a greenhouse too."
There you go. And a great short quote because we have to go to the break.
All right.
Time is not on our side right now. So that in mind, we're going to take a quick break. Biz Talk Radio Facebook Live. Come back with our guest, Neal. And, until then, enjoy the sponsorships on Biz Talk Radio. Those on Facebook Live, you can watch me get a hold of our guest. Some of the perks of being on Facebook Live. This is Garden America. Stay right where you are. All righty, welcome back to the show, the really big show here, Garden America, on your Saturday morning. Along with John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox, I'm Brian Main. We got the order of business out of the way. The first segment's usually our crazy monologue. With that in mind, we're going to be talking to Neal. Tiger, I'll turn it over to you. Let's get started.
Yeah, before the break, John had mentioned he was shipping roses for the rose auction back east where people can't exactly have these roses outside all year long. But if they had a greenhouse, maybe a Hartley Botanic greenhouse.
Different story.
Yeah, you can be able to have roses all year long. So we have joining us this morning, Neal Bobrick from Hartley Botanic USA, a luxury brand of greenhouses. Neal, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, are you in Denver right now? Because you're located in Denver, right?
I live in Denver, but the Hartley Botanic office is based in Boston.
Oh, okay. But you're in Denver currently?
I am in Denver, yes.
How's the weather there right now?
The wind is gone, and it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today.
Ah, all right. Yeah, that is, Denver is up and down right now at this time of year as well,
weather?
Right? It'll get cold, it'll get warm, windy, sunny, all that stuff right now this time of year, right, Neal?
Well, we can't plant our garden, and I love to garden. We can't plant our garden until after Mother's Day.
Oh.
4 out of the last 5 years, it snowed on Mother's Day. So,
oh, that's always
we don't want to risk that.
Yeah,
we don't know what that's like here in San Diego.
I'm sure.
Now, Neal, tell us a little bit about Hartley Botanic because this is a worldwide brand, correct?
It is. We're a global brand based in England. Hartley Botanic started in 1938 in the north of England, a village called Greenfield, which is about 20 miles or so north of Manchester, England. Our factory is located in Greenfield. It's a beautiful 150-plus-year-old building, and one of the key attributes of a Hartley Botanic greenhouse is that it's all handmade. So if you ever have a chance to visit our factory, you walk inside, you don't see a bunch of machines and automation. You see a bunch of men and women cutting aluminum by hand, drilling holes by hand, and building each greenhouse to the spec that the customers requested.
Oh, wow. And, I'm looking at the gallery. I'll post a link for our listeners to your guys' website of the different greenhouses. And you guys have a wide range from very large ones to small, just backyard ones. And I was talking with John a little bit before the show, and I saw that sometimes they're called a glass house, sometimes they're called a greenhouse. What's the difference there?
American English versus British English. In England, they're typically glass houses, and here in America, we call them greenhouses. So being an English company, we do try to use both words to keep our heritage of that English tradition.
And, tell us a little bit about a greenhouse, because I think people have the basic idea of, hey, this is where I keep my plants when I want to protect them from the cold, or, maybe I have tropical plants and I want to, moderate the temperature. These ones that you guys create are actually also rooms or their own environments, right?
Well, it's interesting. Our greenhouses are true growing greenhouses. They're not habitable spaces. We use single pane glass. So if you're going to use it for the purpose of seating or dining, you would want to heat or air condition it. And we are seeing a big move towards the dual usage of a greenhouse. But primarily the Hartley greenhouse is a growing greenhouse. You can grow many different things and heat or cool it to allow whatever you're growing to grow in the best way possible. But you can also use it as a place to relax, have a glass of wine, read the Sunday newspaper, and enjoy your plants and flowers.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, again, the gallery of the different ones, and, they're such amazing additions to a home, and some of them are actually attached to the home, right?
Right. So attached to the home would be called an abutting greenhouse, and that would be attached on either the gable end or the curtain wall side, and it would typically have a pass-through into the house or into a potting shed or into a barn or garage or whatever it is that you're attaching it to. The other type of attach is a lean-to, which is typically just to a garden wall or a wall on the house, and typically won't have a pass-through from another room.
Now, John, you've started a lot of plants, but you never owned a greenhouse, right? Even on your old home in Fallbrook, you didn't have a greenhouse.
I had a little tiny one at one time that was nothing like Hartley Botanic.
Yeah.
And, I was looking at theirs, and they remind me of the Victorian age.
Yeah.
Some of them are just amazing.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, how do you assemble those? Do you get a kit and then you have to put it up yourself, or do you contract with someone to assemble it?
No, and I think that's one of the beauties of Hartley Botanic here in the U.S. All of our structures are made to order. We don't stock greenhouses. They're made to the spec that the customer gives us, and they don't come with instructions. And I say that for the Victorian range and our heritage range and our modern range. Some of our heritage range you can build on your own, but for the most part, you have to have Hartley installers install them. So we have a team of installers all over the country. They fly everywhere we need them to fly, including Canada, Mexico, Hawaii, and they install the greenhouses on the foundations that our customers put up.
There you go, John. You're good to go.
Yeah, Gina
mentioned... No work. Pretty easy.
Gina in Idaho mentions that Garden Answer on YouTube, trying to get people to leave our video, I guess.
But after the show, that's fine.
But she said that they just installed one, and if you want to see one being set up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes. Yep, they have a Grand Lodge, one of our Victorian structures, and it's a beautiful structure and a beautiful garden.
And now, Neal, you've been with Hartley Botanic for, is it 6 years now?
Yep, a little over 5.5 years.
Yeah, and you're the president here in the U.S. Side of it. In the time that you've been in part of Hartley Botanic, have you seen an increase in greenhouse building? Has it been kind of stable? Like, what's been new on the greenhouse end on the U.S.?
We are seeing phenomenal increases in business and interest. And I think there's a number of things driving that. The grow your own trend, the organic trend, has really brought a lot of potential customers to us. I think the lockdown, people lost some of the choices that they could have made prior, like going on an expensive vacation, and they realized that enhancing their home life might be a good place to spend some of their money. And so for different reasons, mostly, these trends that we know of, everybody wants to know where their food is coming from, and they want it to be healthier. That's a big drive for our business, and it's helped us grow significantly.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And We're going to have to take a break right now, Neal. We'll be right back after the break. And when we get back, I want to chat a little bit about what people need to think about when considering a greenhouse for their property.
Absolutely. And those on Facebook Live, questions, comments for one of us or Neal, right there. You know what to do. Post it. You can also chat with each other. Biz Talk Radio, this is last week's show. Thank you for tuning in. You can always watch us live. Just go to our Facebook page, Garden America Radio Show. Also our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show. With that in mind, we're going to take a break. This is Garden America for your Saturday morning. Happy weekend from Brian, John, and Tiger. Well, how about that? We have returned from the break. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the show, Biz Talk Radio, and our sponsors, Facebook Live, those faithful viewers who tune in each and every week to watch and listen to our show. We're talking about greenhouses, talking about a lot of things in terms of what is happening in the world of greenhouses with Neal from Denver, Colorado, the mile-high city, Tiger.
Yeah, we're talking with Neal from Hartley Botanic here in the United States. And Neal, before the break, I had mentioned we want to pass some information on to our listeners about if they're considering a greenhouse, what are some things they need to think about? And, you know, before we had mentioned you had described a couple of styles that may be attached to the home, or you had said a lean-to, but then there's also ones that are kind of freestanding as well, right?
I think it comes down, the first consideration is obviously space. We make greenhouses in many, many different sizes. For some of the smaller spaces, we have greenhouses that will fit. But you want to find the right space in the yard without big trees covering it. This is growing. You're going to be growing vegetables or tropical plants or avocados, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you have the right place in the yard. And based on that, you can determine whether you want a freestanding or a lean-to or a budding.
Mm-hmm. And, the other thing is space in the greenhouse. How do you help people determine how big of a greenhouse they want? Because I think I kind of feel like it's a kitchen where people say, oh, I want the biggest kitchen possible because I feel like I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I'm going to cook a lot. I need all these things. But then, some people have big kitchens and they don't ever use it. Like, how do people determine the space in a greenhouse?
For us, it's actually the opposite. I don't know that I've talked to a customer who said that they didn't wish their greenhouse was bigger. Once you get to growing in an environment that maybe you aren't used to, like during the winter here in Colorado, there's a lot of ideas that come to mind. But again, I think from a size perspective, it all comes down to the space that you have. Uh-huh. Our most popular greenhouse in the Victorian Range is about 11 by 19. And so when you think about 11 by 19 and the base wall that needs to go around that and the landscaping or whatever you want to put around that base wall, you need a bit of space. Mm-hmm. But that's our most popular size, and we can go up or down from there.
And, you mentioned having the open space because of trees and shading because, the plants that you're going to be putting in there tend to like more light. When placement comes in, slopes, flat, like how do you guys work around those problems?
We have done some amazing structures with some really challenging grounds to work with. I think my best answer to that, Tiger, would be that we will send our sales execs out at no charge to the customer to help answer those questions. It isn't a one-size-fits-all. It really is based on not only the land and the space, but things like water. Where's that coming from? What do you want to grow, and how do you want to grow it? So we do this for customers. We stake it out. They walk inside, get a feel for the size of it when it's staked out. Maybe go bigger, maybe go smaller. But that's a service we provide to make sure that our customers get the right size for their land.
And I think that's such a smart way to do it because, with your guys' experience being based out of the UK, they have greenhouses everywhere. Obviously the climate, kind of needs that if that's the gardening you want to be, or gardening you want to do. But, the experience, because here I kind of feel like greenhouses are a little bit more of a new thing. So, taking that experience you guys have of all those years of building them and then bringing them here, it makes it easy for the clients here in the U.S. to be like, oh, yeah, I never even thought about that. Or, you mentioned power, water. Those are all things that are needed inside your greenhouse, right?
Yeah, if that's something you choose to do. I'll tell you what I learned when I first joined Hartley. Greenhouses are to England what garages are to us here in the U.S.
Ah.
Everybody has one. And what we're doing is we're helping build a culture of greenhouse growing. We're helping to expose people to things that they may not have known existed or may have not known that they could do. And through that, we're starting to build that culture here in the U.S. of greenhouse growing. And I'm sure that the entire industry is growing, as just like Hartley is. And I think that's a good thing for the U.S.
I was just thinking that people here look at a greenhouse and automatically think I could never afford something like that. So I'm wondering, for the average homeowner who doesn't live on a huge estate, will they be able to get financing to do this? Is that something you help them with, or do they have to have their finances arranged before they begin construction?
Yeah, we don't do financing for our purchases. It's just something we've chosen not to get into.
Right.
That said, I think there are a number of options for people to buy greenhouses, from Home Depot and Costco to Hartley Botanic. There's a wide range of opportunities for people to get into greenhouse growing. Hartley Botanic's not for everyone, but there is something out there for everyone.
I have to tell you that Home Depot and Lowe's and the box stores do not have greenhouses that look like Hartley Botanic.
Definitely not.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to the question, like when somebody is considering a greenhouse, there's things. I mean, obviously the Hartley Botanic ones being handmade, custom built, they're gonna fit what the client needs. But there's things people need to consider as far as, like, should you be using a glass? Should you be using, another material? What are some things that people need to maybe consider when it comes to just any greenhouse aside from space? Do they already have to know what they want to grow in it or not? Is that something that can come later on?
Well, I think it's something that can come later on, but I do think most people have an idea of what they want to grow. And as they go through the process of learning about the different types of greenhouses out there, I think they figure out through the education process of what kind of structure is going to be best for what they want to grow. There's the glass structures, and again, Hartley Botanic is a pure growing greenhouse. But there are also structures which use different materials, as you mentioned, for the windows and walls and ceiling. It comes down to the research, the price, what the customer really wants to grow, and what they need the greenhouse to do to be successful growing that.
And you guys offer a wide range of styles. John had mentioned, the one that kind of looked like it came out of a Victorian home.
Right.
But you also have kind of more modern looks. Can you tell us a little bit about the different styles that you have so people don't think they're just one specific one?
Sure. I'll start with our most popular. It is the Victorian Range. It's that traditional look and what you see in many, many English gardens, and that is our most popular. We also make a modern range, and as you know, different in San Diego, for example, it's probably a little bit more modern from a construction perspective than it is in Boston, Massachusetts, or Virginia. And so we've started making a modern line in the last 5 years that really works well for people who are looking for that modern look, those aesthetics that tie in maybe better with their home than a Victorian structure. We make a range called the Heritage Range, which has been around forever and ever. We have a heritage structure that we made, excuse me, in the 1950s that we were able to acquire from the customer that we use still today. So, our Heritage Range has been around for a long time. It is that traditional look with a lighter extrusion, and that's our third range. And then our fourth range is Bespoke. Bespoke is custom here in the U.S., and one of our taglines is born to be bespoke. If you can think of it and it fits within our maximums, we can probably make it in our factory and install it in your home. So it's across the board from a design, size, and style perspective.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice. I mean, again, going back to your gallery and the different options you guys have, a lot of information about each one of those lines is online.
Yep.
About what the materials are, the colors, and all of that. Now we're gonna have to take another break, Neal, here in a second. Now, when we get back, I want to also share with some people about Hartley Botanic and the different options as far as like where they can get them, because again, this is all across the country. So, I imagine that you can get them even here in California. But we get back from break. Yep. We'll continue chatting with Neal from Hartley Botanic.
And again, we do see some of your questions, which we will get to a bit later on. But feel free, talking about greenhouses today from Neal, coming to us this morning direct from Denver, and learning a lot of great information. So again, going to take a break. For those on BizTalk Radio, Facebook Live, we are coming right back. Welcome to Garden America. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to today's show. Brian Main, John Begnasker, Tiger Palafox here on America's favorite. We are Garden America. All right, thank you for tuning in this morning, being right there with us here on Garden America with John Begnasko. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox, talking about greenhouses. And I'm sure this has been a huge insight for a lot of people listening, ourselves included in that, in terms of these structures, Tiger. Are they portable? I guess they can be. Are they permanent? I guess they could be. Yeah. I guess the only restriction is your imagination, and we can talk more about that with Neal.
Yeah, so we're chatting with Neal Bobrick, the president of the Hartley Botanic here in United States. And before the break, Neal, I had mentioned the options for people across the country. You had mentioned Canada, Mexico, all through the United States. You have installers that no matter where you're at, they can get you a greenhouse built. There's actually a comment that came across. John, would you read that for Neal? And I thought it was kind of interesting.
Well, Dana was asking if some of the greenhouses were portable, and my first thought was absolutely not, right?
Yeah, they look amazing. They look very permanent.
Yeah, but then Caroline in the UK says that a lot of people, when they move, take their Hartley Botanic structures with them, that they can be taken apart and then reassembled, and she said a lot of them get passed down from generation to generation.
Well, that's pretty neat, huh, Neal?
Absolutely. We just did one last month. A customer moved from, I think, Connecticut to Oklahoma. They had a Hartley Botanic Grand Manor, which is one of our very large structures, and we took it down, transported it to Oklahoma, and put it back up on their new site.
Oh, that's really amazing.
So that actually is a good investment. You don't have to worry about the fact that when I move, I paid all this money for this greenhouse, and the people moving in are going to get the benefit. So Neal, let me ask you this then: if you were to visit a property, a house, and look at the structure, the property, I imagine you could almost tailor a greenhouse to make it look like it actually was built when the house was and fit into the property and the landscaping. Could I do something like that?
Absolutely. So the base wall or the dwarf wall that the greenhouse sits on, many customers actually use that to tie the brick into the house, or the look of the base wall into the look of the house. So it really does look like it's been there since day one.
And kind of back to what I had mentioned before, Neal, you guys do sell these all through the United States, right? All 50 states, and you even included Hawaii when you mentioned it too, right?
Yeah,
correct.
That's amazing. And what's the timeline on? I'm just going to speak for your specific Hartley Botanic. Say somebody was interested and, they wanted to do this. You're talking about kind of getting a design going, meeting with someone, building it for them, and then installing it. What is something like this that people need to know? This isn't going to be something that happens within a week. What's a good timeline for people to think about this? Because, a lot of people want a greenhouse before the winter, I'm assuming. So, they're going to have to plan ahead, right?
Absolutely. And using today, to be specific. If you were to buy a Hartley Botanic greenhouse today, we're booking for January installations. And while that may sound like a long time, you have to remember everything that has to happen in between making that decision and the actual installation of the greenhouse. There's all the planning. There's finding a contractor to do the dwarf wall. If you're going to run water or electricity, you have to plan for that as well. And in some cases, you may need permitting and planning permission from the municipality that you're in. And so all of that takes time. And I can tell you that one of the biggest challenges we have with time is the customers don't realize how much time the in the middle part takes. And they sometimes they're late in being done, and we're ready to install. So it is a process, but at the end, when it's all said and done, you've got a beautiful structure on your land that's guaranteed for life and will be an amazing addition to your home.
So, Neal, if I understand correctly, then a person decides or a family decides they want to do this, and then you say, okay, we're going to take care of this and this and this. In the meantime, you need to check into this, this, and this. Both parties have a responsibility, which is why you mentioned the fact that when you're ready, sometimes the customer is not, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And in today's world, there's a challenge of finding contractors and, those things that we're dealing with because of the COVID. It stretches much further than just finding a contractor to put your base wall in. But, yeah, there's a process that everyone has to go through so that it all works in the end. Not difficult, but timely.
Right.
My thought on putting up a greenhouse would be that once the greenhouse is built, then I have to look at, getting a heater. I have to look at fans. I have to look at all this. But now I'm getting the sense that when you're finished with the greenhouse, I can just start putting plants in it.
It's built in, I would imagine.
Yeah, is that correct?
Well, whatever options you decide to build into your foundation, whether it's underground heating or electric heating or lights or chandeliers, all of those can be done after the greenhouse. Let me rephrase that. Some of those can be done after the greenhouse is in. Some of those will be done as you prepare your foundation and you get your base wall built. They'll be hidden underneath the base wall. It's all a part of the construction process, very similar to a house.
Yeah. Lots of great tips, lots of good information, Neal. Thank you very much. And, where do we want to send people if they are interested in a Hartley Botanic greenhouse?
We have 9 fantastic sales execs across the country and in Canada. And really, our website, www.hartleybotanic.com. You can request a catalyte or call us at 781-933-1993, and we'll get you with the right person in your area.
Yeah, and I did post your guys' website with those links directly there for anybody watching on Facebook. Can just instantly click there. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope the weather is favorable to you, Neal, out there.
No snow on Mother's Day, right?
No snow on Mother's Day. Oh, good luck, huh?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, take care. I think this is custom built for John.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised he didn't. I didn't want to, say it with Neal because it's tough. In San Diego, it's almost more difficult to have a greenhouse because you have to cool it. I feel like at your house in Fallbrook,
right?
You would have to cool it a lot. I feel because it gets hot, and if you have plants in there. It can get hot in that greenhouse. And you have to cool that greenhouse.
Nothing but tropicals.
But even then, no, it's too hot.
Well, he was saying when you're building a greenhouse, you want to make sure it's away from trees.
You're like,
I think I'd want mine to be under a tree.
Yeah. I wonder if a greenhouse in a sense can be a microclimate, right?
Yeah,
I mean, wow. Very interesting. Now, to answer your question, John, I think you could just type in hartley.com. And you would probably get the same results.
Hartley, not Hartley Botanic?
Or Botanical, but I'm saying you don't need the www. You can drop that if you'd like.
Chris wants to know the best way to grow succulent that fell off or broke.
Oh, I just stick it in the ground and there it is.
Yeah, I would probably make a fresh cut on it.
Yeah, sure.
And then let it callus over 2 or 3 days. put it out of the sun, put it in a shady spot, let it callus over, and then just stick it in the ground, depending on what type of soil you have. In my house, I've got decomposed granite, so I can just stick it straight in and they'll root. And this is the time of year to be doing that.
Yeah.
So if you want to take cuttings, go out and do it.
And also, I mean, like you mentioned, depending on the soil. We got to
take a break. I'm sorry, Tiger.
No worries.
I just let the time go right by enjoying this show so much. We've got to keep up with our network. So news coming up, top of the hour. We're back at 6 minutes after. Hopefully you carry hour number 2. This is Garden America. All right, just like that, we are back. Welcome those on Biz Talk Radio, whether you heard last hour or just joining us now for hour number 2. Thank you. This is last week's show, talking about greenhouses. Those on Facebook Live, we are back, and we want to catch up on some of your questions and your comments regarding whatever it is garden-wise. And I had to interrupt you, Tiger, before the break. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's just, I know this happens to a lot of people where they have a succulent that falls over. And, I don't know the size that Carolyn, was it?
Chris.
No, Chris.
Yeah,
Chris had mentioned. Yeah. But the soil and the supporting of the succulent is also a big deal. I mean, it is as simple as kind of making a good cut, letting it callus, putting it in soil. But if it's a big portion, supporting it with either like a stake or some kind of support is important, because when they put it in a cactus mix, usually that's pretty loose. And it'll fall over right again,
right?
Because there's no roots, and they don't get roots they don't get roots that hold themselves for a very long time. So you have to support it. And the reason why I brought this up is recently a client had this big euphorbia that had fallen over, just massive, and he wanted us to put it right back up. And it's like, that's not going to happen. I mean, it's massive. It's heavy. The reason why it fell over, it was overbearing
in the first place.
Yeah. And so I was like, we got to remove a lot of these branches, and we got to cut out a lot of it. And when we put it up, we have to stake it and support it for a year, because it's going to need that much time to set these roots again. And, he didn't think about that. He just thought it could just be, it's perfectly fine. Just stand it straight back up. That doesn't happen.
This is about the time of year to start Plumeria cuttings also.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same thing that you're talking about. They can't stand up on their own, so you really need a stake. Tie them to a stake while they get rooted. Have your Plumeria started leafing out yet?
Yes.
Yeah, mine have
I'm
just
excited.
started.
Yeah.
I'm excited. They started leafing out, and I got jealous because a neighbor of mine, they were leafing out more than mine, but I am okay.
Yeah, right. Looking over, so you never look over the fence.
I know.
You're jealous.
And it's so funny how plants do that, because you're like, mine aren't. And in mine, I have a lot now, and so they're all similar. They're all meaning they're all starting to leaf out at the same time. I don't have one variety that's leafing out before the other. But I looked at the neighbor's yard, and theirs all had lots of leaves on them.
I think I gave you cuttings of the variegated ones. Did they ever root or no?
So this will be, they are starting to leaf out.
Oh, really?
And so this was going to be the first test, because you kind of gave them to me late.
Right.
And
that's why I was asking.
Yeah. And so I'm seeing growth on them. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Looking good. I've got a lot more sunshine in my patio now this time of year. Gosh, it's nice.
Yeah.
Whereas before in the wintertime, by 11 o'clock, 11:30, that's about it for the sun.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
in terms of the shadows.
Right. You have all those big trees.
Yeah,
like
a lot
what
of
Neal
big
was talking about with the trees shading certain
eucalyptus.
areas.
We got a lot of eucalyptus on the property.
So.
Okay, so yes. Rick's got a question. John, you want to get that?
I don't have it right now.
A lot of new lighting has been developed for garages that are LED. Can you use LED for plants?
Yeah, so there's a lot of grow lights that have been developed. I mean, number one, something new is in kitchens. A lot of the under-counter lights can be swapped out for specific LED grow lights. Mm-hmm. And what they do is that they put the full spectrum of light that is required for growing in that LED strip of light. So that way, if you have, little herbs on your kitchen counter, or you want to grow little vegetables on your kitchen counter, you potentially could. And as far as a garage goes, there's a lot of lights, grow lights that you can buy that are kind of multi-use, where they're kind of good for lighting an area, but at the same time okay for plants to use. But I will say, though, that in a garage with 0 windows, you're going to have them on a good timer, because people don't think about that also, where they have to, they do want to shut down the light sometimes as well. They don't want to leave the lights on 24/7 for plants.
Right.
That'll really freak them out. So, having a good timer and a good ventilation system in a garage is going to be important. But yeah, there's a lot of light. There's ones that you can even just, screw into light bulb fixtures now that they say are grow lights as well.
The nice thing about LED lights is they're not too hot.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
The old,
you can touch them.
Yeah, really old grow lights used to heat up. So the closer you got to a plant, the better it was for the plant to grow. But then also more heat, which was not good for plants.
Yeah. So yeah, no, a lot of good options for if you're trying to put some good grow lights. I've even seen it where people have houseplants, and some of those spotlights that they have on the roofs, they switch those bulbs to be because if maybe the room is a little bit dark for their houseplants, that gives them a little bit better opportunity to grow as well. Yeah, so good stuff out there happening.
Yeah. All right, John. I guess that's going to do it. Oh no, I'm sorry. We have several more segments. Getting ahead of myself. Harlow's got a big question for you, John.
Yeah, it's a good thing that's not the quote of the week. Otherwise, Brian would be making fun of you.
Never going to hear the end of this.
Yeah.
So Carla says she needs clarification on the rose auction bidding. It seems like one time bids will be outbid by
in person, somebody who's actually there.
Right. Should she bother with online if she's going in person? No, if you're going in person, there's no reason to
do online.
To go online.
Yeah.
Online is
works for a lot of
only if you're not going to show up.
Yeah, exactly. For people that are across the country or not going to be there, online works best.
Yeah, there's one rose that she says she wants in particular, and she wants to know the best strategy.
$1,000.
I'm not sure how ethical some of the strategies people use are, but some strategies I've seen that I know really upset other people is as it gets towards the end of the auction, you kind of hover and don't allow anyone to get in and write down their bid. So hovering's not really good.
Unless you're a vulture. Then it usually works.
Or a fly, hover flies.
Hover flies.
Yeah. But anyway, the way the online bidding works is if you put in a maximum bid of $100 on a rose, and the bidding starts out at, say, $10, the society assigns a proxy to bid for you, and they will keep bidding $1 more than whatever anyone else bids.
Not to exceed $100.
Not to exceed 100. But so if you bid 100, you could easily get that rose for $15, $20, $25.
Now, the different things you're talking about, because there's the live auction.
Right.
Okay. And can they bid on roses online for the live auction? They
can
do the same thing.
You can, and it's the same thing. I think your wife has done that.
Dana, and it's real time.
It's real time.
Okay,
right.
so that's one way. So that kind of makes sense. You got someone in the room saying, whatever dollars. Now, also you're describing the silent auction, I guess they would call it, where they have the papers and the roses and people write their bids down.
Right.
So now my question, and this might go for what we're trying to get at, is say someone online did $100 for my orange juice rose, and it was a part of the silent auction.
Right.
And at the end of the bid, it was at $65.
Right.
But it wasn't the person online. But does the person online get it for $66?
The person who was in charge of bidding would go through and write $66
before the bid close. So somebody that's there in person would know they did win it or not.
Right. There's a proxy there that handles those bids, and they only get so many. So if you were online and you bid for 30 roses, we wouldn't give that list of 30 to one person because you can't cover that many roses.
Up with that.
Right. So we would probably break it up and give everybody maybe 6 or 8 roses so they could watch closely.
What do you anticipate to be the highest bidding rose this year? What are
I don't know, because last year, which was just a virtual auction, the rose Flash Night sold for $380, I think.
Okay.
And that was the highest amount we ever got for a rose. And that person had a maximum bid of, they would have gone over $500.
Wow.
So they really wanted
They
that
really
rose.
wanted that rose.
But then, sometimes a rose will go for $9 or $6.
Yeah.
And that rose was not super exclusive, or was it? Flash Night.
Yeah, it was not available anywhere.
Oh, okay.
You could not buy that rose.
Because I was going to say real quick that sometimes it's just what people want. Like it's weird, right? Like you'll have two people in a room and they just really want that rose, and there might not be anything really specific about the rose, but they just want it, and then they keep bidding out.
We're going to take a break to keep ourselves on time for our friends on Biz Talk Radio. When we return, more rose talk, more auction talk. Stay with us. This is Garden America. Okay, we have returned from the break. Thank you for those that tune in each and every week on Biz Talk Radio, our nationally syndicated network, and those on Facebook Live. Actually, we reach the entire world, the entire planet, through Facebook Live. I believe.
Antarctica.
Not anymore? What happened to that?
We lost it?
We sent you up there 6 months ago to square that away. What the heck happened?
We sent you there 6 months ago.
Wow. Anyway,
Jeez.
So online bidders will still have bids raised by somebody there in person.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct, Carla. Yes. There you go. You can hold up that little sign when you're there.
So I was finishing on the Flash Night.
Yeah.
There's an amateur breeder out there right now that is it's like a painter, the most popular, like
they're not famous until
Banksy.
they pass away.
No. I'm thinking like Banksy, Everybody wants a Banksy right now, if you can get it. And everybody wants a Dave Bang rose, because Dave started breeding roses with these incredible stripes. Like, Brian, Simsalabim and Abracadabra. Well, he has bred roses with stripes as exciting as that, but hardier roses. They don't get mildew like the other roses. And he's probably got, I don't know, maybe 30 different roses out there now, and everybody wants one of his. But the rose he used to start his breeding was a florist rose called Flash Night.
Oh.
So that's what he started with, and that's not available anywhere. And it was just one he used in his breeding. So the person who wanted it, or the people who were bidding on it, wanted it because it was the rose that he used in breeding.
Or if they're a breeder themselves, an amateur breeder, that they realize that's a good rose to own.
And everybody has a different reason why they want.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
you know,
I don't know. I mean, when I got orange juice, I think I don't remember. It wasn't cheap. I don't think it was the most expensive rose at the time, but I just liked it, and I would have bid whatever for it because I liked the rose.
Well, that's one that usually goes for quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
There was a breeder, Jack Christensen, whose roses he's passed away last summer, I think, but people collect his roses because they're so nice. He used to be a breeder for Armstrong Nurseries.
Oh, okay.
And there's another one that you need to go along with orange juice. That's one of his roses.
Lemonade.
And it's called Pink Lemonade.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I know. I need the pear.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like getting all of the things out of the bottom of the cereal box. You need to collect all four.
Do they still have things in cereal boxes?
I don't know. I think you got to you download apps and things nowadays. They give you codes for
Do you know what's really changed over the years? In the old days, a box of Cracker Jacks, you got a pretty good prize in there.
Yeah.
Now it's like...
What was a pretty good prize?
Let's see.
Decoder ring?
Maybe something like that. where now it's something you just kind of scratch off something. Or,
You know, the last time
Stickers.
I
Stickers.
looked,
Yeah.
the last time I looked at a prize in a box of Cracker Jacks, it was really nice, but that was 50 years ago.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, you're still eating Cracker Jacks?
I love Cracker Jacks are good.
You can tell us. You still eat them, huh?
Oh, I can't remember the last time I have, but I would.
But you know,
Maybe at a ball game.
but you know
Really?
what's funny is
What's
that,
why were you anti Cracker Jack?
No, it's just something I haven't thought of. You know, once I grew up, I just stopped eating them.
No, and I was going to say this is that we've moved on to adult Cracker Jacks, meaning
Popcornopolis.
well, just like there's a lot of really good
yeah.
popcorns out there.
Oh, yeah.
that are better than a Cracker Jack.
Gourmet type.
That's what we've moved on to because
Well, okay.
now when you eat a Cracker Jack, you're like, this is kind of gross because I'm used to eating this.
But if you have a ball game in front of it, it's different.
Do you remember
I eat
growing
peanuts,
up, now
peanuts.
that you mention it, though, that the Cracker Jack, the box was kind of waxy, wasn't it?
yes,
And sometimes you'd take out the Cracker Jacks, they'd be all melted together,
Yep.
Yeah,
stuck together, and
Yeah, I
you'd
think
have to
so.
break them up.
Yeah. I know why
part of
you
the
bought them,
challenge.
because you liked Sailor Jack on the front.
that was his name.
Sailor Jack.
Really?
Saluting.
I didn't know that.
What do you mean you didn't know that? Come on. You know secrets between friends, John. It's okay.
I
I guess
remember now.
Cracker Jack. Sailor
Cracker Jack, yeah.
What is it that's in? Is it peanuts or almonds? That
Peanuts.
Are in? Peanuts.
Peanuts, caramel, popcorn.
Because I did not like the, I did not like the peanuts.
Really?
Oh, I do. I like the
Oh,
peanuts.
man.
That's-
I would like them now, but when I was a kid, I wouldn't eat the peanuts. I'd feed them to my sister.
Can we grow peanuts here?
You'd feed them to your sister. That
Yeah.
sounds like you're. What do you mean you fed?
She would eat anything.
Mikey will eat anything.
Yeah. Mikey, he likes it.
Yeah,
Now, how
we
do you
can
remember
grow
that?
peanuts.
That's
That's 50
that's what
years
people used
ago.
to say about me because I would eat anything.
That's something you should grow for your kids.
I know.
And now would be the time to
peanuts.
plant them.
Right.
Peanuts.
Peanuts would be good to
Yes.
grow. That's fun to grow.
Do you know an interesting thing about growing peanuts, Brian? Is that it's a legume, right?
Right.
Yes, it is.
So
Yep.
you plant it in the ground, and it comes up, and it flowers. And the peanuts come from the flowers, but the flowers are on the plant, but the peanuts are underground. And what happens is the flower, once it's pollinated, bends down and then goes down to the ground and pushes its way into the ground, and that's where the peanuts formed.
Wow, I'd like to see that in time lapse photography.
Yeah, that would be like
So the plant grows up.
Yes,
Yeah,
and then
flowers,
goes back
it's a
down.
little-
falls down.
a little bush,
Yeah, then falls
Ju-
down.
not the plant, just
No,
the
but
flowers.
just the flowers fall
Right.
down.
Yeah,
And then they begin to grow their peanuts underground.
yeah. They don't
And then-
actually fall down. They just
Just kind of follow, like
they descend.
descend.
Yeah.
And now, so if you were to leave a peanut plant wild, it'd almost be like a rambler where it just kind of grows around then? Because I imagine this plant's, just kind of, if you were to let it go, just spreading because it would be constantly rooting around itself.
Well, in Florida,
Yeah.
they use peanuts as ground cover.
Yeah.
It's an ornamental peanut.
So
though.
it's
not really the.
Kind of like our ornamental strawberry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer. One
Yeah,
of
that's
our
right.
Presidents, yes. And his brother drank beer.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, a little
Don't
history
know.
right there. Are you reading Carolyn's comment and Marguerite, John?
Yeah, Carolyn said that you boys elevate my mood.
Thanks for a good start to the day.
Yeah. I don't know if I've been told that
Yeah.
recently.
You guys crack
That's
me up.
Yeah, that was Marguerite. Anyway,
Peanuts.
so that's something you really should grow. I think
I think
Isaac
so.
and
I think they would get a kick out of it.
Tasia would like that.
Yeah.
Now, you want to grow them with the shells or without?
They all have shells, Brian.
Oh,
Oh, that's
okay.
just like they don't have chocolate milk cows.
What? What are you talking about?
Then you do need to, in the fall when you harvest them, you hang them upside down and let them dry.
Dry out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or roast them.
Sounds like you've done this.
Oh yeah, I've grown. Matter of fact, when our kids were little was the last time I grew peanuts.
Yeah, so you're basically a nut from way back.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, Brian.
All righty, so we're going to take a break. We have 2 more segments coming up. Plenty of time for your questions, your comments there on Facebook Live. Thanking those on Biz Talk Radio. If you want to listen to our show, watch our show live, go to our Facebook page every week. Garden America Radio Show. Our website is also gardenamerica.com. No need for the www. We don't need that.
W.
We're going to take a break. Back after these important messages on Biz Talk Radio. Well, hello there. We are back. Been watching you during the break. Have you been watching us on Facebook Live? Biz Talk Radio, good morning. Welcome to the show. In some cases, good afternoon. However you're listening to us, digital, podcasting. The network puts up our podcast as a show, or our show as a podcast, I should say. Many ways to listen to us. Can't escape us here on Garden America, John.
Brian, Gina has a question for you. She says she just planted some potatoes in large pots and she wants to know if she could grow tomatoes in there as well.
And then turn them upside down after they're done?
Well, no, but...
is she talking about ketchup and fries?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. You know,
yes.
What is a ketchup and fry? It's just a tomato grafted onto a potato.
Absolutely.
And do you know, that was my company that introduced that plant into the United States, the ketchup and fries. And I can't tell you how many people said to me, why don't I just plant a tomato and a potato in the same pot? So yes, you can do that.
Could you though? Like, no, I mean, because if you have a potato in there,
Right.
and we know tomatoes require a certain amount of root system,
Right.
Are they going to be competing, or could
More
you put
so
them
than,
in the
more so than the ketchup and
Right,
fries
because
because that was on a potato root.
And they're sharing the
Right.
same, it's like a Siamese twin. They're sharing
correct?
the
They're
same.
Right.
They're sharing it all. Where right now it's almost like they're competing for the space.
Yes.
Right. Yes, the answer is that you will probably be less productive in both areas, but I don't know if it would be significant enough in a container. In the ground, you'd have no problem at all because there's plenty of
room.
soil for them to go.
Right.
But I think the way to overcome that in a container would be maybe a little extra fertilizer, but they are going to fill up that pot quickly.
Yeah.
And then that potato really vines out, so I think you'd want to be careful of it growing up the tomato as well, because you might get a lot of things like mildew and things on the tomato.
Hey, don't you be growing up my tomato?
Weren't there, I'm trying to think, I know I'm almost positive I've seen potato pots.
Yeah,
where
they have flaps on the side. And
yeah,
different
so
things.
you can pull down the flap, reach in and grab a potato, and then put the flap back up.
Put the flap back up, right. Exactly. Harvesting organs from plants there.
Now, is Keith's question is kind of grayed out on my screen. Is it grayed out on yours as well?
It is. I don't know why. But he says that he wants to know how much his ranunculus corms are going to be affected if he pulls them up before they're completely dead. He wants them...
he wants to use them again next year.
Yeah. The area is really looking ugly. Well, here's the problem, is that when bulbs are done, bulbs or corms or tubers, when they're done blooming, they start to look ugly.
Right.
But the plants themselves are still photosynthesizing in building up the underground tuber or in this case, a corm.
For the next year.
For the next year, right. So the sooner you pull them out, the fewer flowers you'll probably have the following year.
Weaker plant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that is the tough, because I have a ton of paper whites and I have a bunch of freesias. And like you say, you have to let the area look real bad for a while before you can get in there and clean it out. Like
now, I have seen people with paper whites and with daffodils take a twist tie and tie those leaves together.
Make
and
it
then
look a
let
little
them
nicer.
Right. Now, I would say, Keith, that let's say if 60% of the plant has turned brown, at least 60%, it's probably okay to pull them up.
Yeah.
But any more than that, you're really going to be cutting back on next year's flowers.
All right.
All right, Keith from Point Loma, thank you for that question.
But then also, I mean, fertilizing leading up into the next year will help when they start. I know that it just kind of helps, making sure like they have good fertilizer through the growing season will help with that, because I've seen a difference where I've planted different bulbs in areas where I just neglect them versus areas where I'm actively gardening. And the bulbs where I'm actively gardening are always doing a lot better than the ones that just come up, by themselves, kind of a thing. So I know that fertilizing does make a difference with those as well.
I know in some of those long borders in England that we saw, they would have the bulbs mixed with perennials. Yeah. So as the bulb leaves started to fade, the perennials that were coming up were covering them up. So you really didn't have to worry about cleaning up the leaves, starting a whole new area.
I think that's a great way to do it, is mix them up like that. Exactly. Because it is hard to make it look good when they do look like that.
Yeah, right.
Are your roses blooming, Brian?
Yes.
I know
Simsalabim.
Yeah.
Budded last week. You know what? It's interesting because when I see a rose start to bud, I'll give it a couple, 2 or 3 days because it looks nice along the walkway, and then I try to time it so I cut it, bring it into the house. Well, he didn't. He was about 3 or 4 days. The Simsalabim.
That's all it lasted.
Yeah.
Before it opened up.
Yeah. So, and then a Laura Bush, which I cut yesterday and brought into the house, and then I think lemon spice, because I cut them back pretty good.
More roses than I do. Wow.
Okay. You know what? I've got like probably 8, 9, 10.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I counted all the pots I had. 23 pots just in the front walkway, and another 15 to 20 in the patio.
Do you remember the green planet?
Which, by the way, looks really good right now. It's got a really tall bud coming up.
Well, do you remember the ones I brought in here?
Yes.
That we had, when we were explaining what a budded maiden was and how that worked?
I was all confused about bud and maidens until you explained that to me.
But those, both those plants, I had 2 of them, are both blooming right now. And one will be in the auction.
First time for a green planet in the auction
since you got the last one,
which was 2004, 5, right around there.
Wow!
And Eric, my son, bid on him. I think he paid like $60, $70.
$80.
$80, yeah.
$80, yeah.
And all these years later, there it is.
Yeah,
looking good. So Green Planet's going to be in the auction this year.
Right.
So for those looking for a good-looking green rose. Yeah, I like Green Planet.
The other rose that you gave me a cutting of was Nimbus.
Yes.
And that still has not leafed out.
Really?
It's the bud is green.
You sure it was Nimbus and not Nimrod?
You know what? If you had a Hartley Botanic greenhouse at your home, it would have already leafed out.
If what?
If you had a Hartley Botanic greenhouse.
Because I could have put him in there?
Exactly. Those greenhouses instantly make your plants better.
Hey, Kevin wants to know if we have any overseas tours coming up that you'll be hosting this year or next.
Nothing right now.
Man, I'm just so toured out with all the
back and forth,
I know.
up and down,
with COVID.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
What we can do, what we can't do.
I'll tell you what, a great trip would be to the Galapagos Islands. I just saw a documentary on that.
We tried to go there. Right?
Wow. I mean, it is.
We did have one of those scheduled.
I know. Yeah.
Our buddy in Georgia ended up leading the tour
just
instead.
the life that's there, and the birds, and the marine life, and skin diving if you're into that. If you're qualified. Yeah. What a great, and all those islands right there that are within eye distance, most of them.
Well, speaking of islands, Colette wanted us to lead a tour to the Azores and Portugal, which we could put together if we ever get the energy to do it.
If things calm down a little bit, people are still a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, and right now you don't have to wear a mask on a plane, but the White House is
pushing for that,
pushing to put the mandates back in. So I don't know. The last 2 years took a toll on me as far as tours go.
Yeah. And just when I was getting over the Spanish flu thing, then COVID comes up.
And then we just feel bad. Like, with our listeners, like planning something and then having it not
and
go
having
through.
to take,
So we'd
rip
rather
the carpet
have it
out.
be just, if it's going to be
sure.
something we plan, it's going to be for sure. Because
Exactly. Hey, let's take a break right now. We're going to come back with our final segment of the morning or afternoon on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. So do stay with us. Hang in there. We've got one more segment coming up. These messages coming up on Biz Talk Radio, and a bit quicker return on Facebook Live. This is Garden America. All right, this is it, our final segment. Welcome back, those on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live, as we continue. And again, more questions, comments. We do have some time. I think we covered just about everybody. And yeah, John, as far as being a little exhausted, planning trips, not going, thinking we're going, we would have been there over in Vienna right now, right? For the
that tour was the one that I was probably the sorriest that we didn't get to take.
Because we either would be wrapping up right now or still there.
It was the International Wildflower Festival in the Julian Alps. That would have been so good. And
just saying that sounds exotic.
Yeah. Well, and we were going to visit Bled, which I've been to before, and I really wish you guys could have seen it because it was like a storybook setting with a Cinderella castle in the middle of the area. It was just spectacular. Gina wants to know what to fertilize her peonies with. You can use anything. Milorganite's the cheapest, but any kind of good organic food.
Yeah, they're pretty easy across the board, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if she's fertilizing her peonies now, if peonies will be blooming when we go, because we're going the second week in April. I mean, second week in May, I'm sorry. So it'll be nice to see what's up there. I haven't seen peonies blooming in the longest
in
time.
just a yard somewhere.
Yeah. Do you sell peonies? I know the regular peonies don't grow, but do you sell that bi-generic cross?
Yes, we do. Yeah. But, I mean, it's kind of like also the Disconzo lilac. You know, people have this idea of what the lilac, the East Coast lilac is like. And then they get the Disconzo variety. And it's good for what we can have,
right? But
it's not the same. And
not as big as some of them, but they're still pretty nice.
Yeah, no, they're still really nice, but it's just not the same. You know, people think we could be able to have these comparable plants, and it's just not going to work.
The Disconzo lilacs are warm climate lilacs that were bred by Dr. Walter Lammertz at Disconzo Gardens. Walter Lammertz was also a rose breeder and has
I didn't know he did
bunch of
roses.
roses. But he took the regular lilac is Syringa vulgaris, and vulgaris is where we get the word vulgar from. It means common in Latin, so that's the common lilac. But he took the common lilac, Syringa vulgaris, and crossed it with Syringa hyacinthiflorus, which is a warm weather lilac but with smaller flowers.
Right.
So he put the two together and he got larger flowers that would bloom in warm weather. And the common one we use is Lavender Lady, right?
Yep.
And then I think Angel White. But there's probably about a dozen.
Some different pinks.
Yeah, a dozen of those that you could get.
Yeah.
And lilac fragrance is just spectacular. It's something we usually don't see.
Yeah, and so, with the peonies, kind of a similar thing. The ones that we have, they're great. They are good. Right. But, it's not like the ones that they can grow in the colder climates as well.
Right.
So similar kind of features there.
Another thing we can't grow here, and a fragrance we don't usually smell, is Lily of the Valley. And I gave my daughter some Lily of the Valleys to see if she could grow them, and I don't think they've bloomed for her yet.
But did they grow?
They're growing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just not the bloom, maybe?
Yeah, in that area that she lives in to me, is strange because you can go a month with 100-degree temperatures in the summer.
Yeah.
But then I guess the plants survive. As long as they've got the cold winter, they'll do fine.
What do they do? I mean, we're talking about the greenhouses earlier, in Michigan, because it gets hot in the summer in Michigan.
And humid too, right?
And they have these greenhouses for the plants in the wintertime.
Right.
Do they cool them in the summer, or do they just empty them?
Well, commercial greenhouses can have cooling fans.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about people's homes.
I think they just, open the top, the
Top
levers
and let
on
it
the
all
top,
be ventilated.
and open the sides and let the air go through.
Because they can get hot in there. You
Yeah.
know, they can get hot in those greenhouses, especially if they are the glass ones.
Yeah, it's like a hothouse.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's what the other name for a greenhouse is a hothouse.
My dad used to say that. He'd go, man, it's like a hothouse in here.
Really?
I'm like, okay, I wasn't putting the greenhouse, hothouse together at that time. Yeah, he'd always say that. It's like a hothouse in here.
I wonder where your dad,
Where'd you get that from? You grew up in Chicago.
Exactly.
Well, they had hothouses in Chicago.
Do you know that my dad was 14 years old selling newspapers when the St. Valentine's Day Massacre happened?
Really?
And he ran down the street. They were all running down to see what had just happened.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's one thing you never see anymore is someone yelling, extra, extra, read all about it.
I was just thinking about that the other day.
Yeah.
And the kid with the little cap on.
Yeah.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Yep.
Yeah,
You also don't see cigarette ladies.
No. And you don't, speaking of that, you don't see kids on bicycles delivering papers.
That's true.
Nobody has a paper route anymore.
Well, I was going to mention our previous guest was talking about newspapers, and I was going to break in and explain to Tiger what a newspaper was.
And getting ink on your fingers.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, we've got just over a minute. If you want to close with a few words of wisdom.
And then
or
we don't have
things
any other
happening.
spots?
What's that?
Just over a minute, and that's it?
Yeah, we're done.
The show?
The show.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
I know. How about that?
Who's our guest next week? To let our listeners know.
You know, why you got to put me on the spot when I'm...
It's live radio. He's on the spot.
Yeah.
Live radio, live Facebook. Actually, not live radio. Pre-recorded radio. So those on BizTalk Radio, Tiger doesn't... It's okay. It's pre-recorded.
Oh, I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're sorry.
Apology accepted.
Well, good day to go out and garden. If you're in the San Diego area,
beautiful.
Make sure everything's watered because it's going to be hot tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to heat up quite a bit, right?
Yeah. It's going to be 90 in Fallbrook tomorrow.
Wow. So, yes, that watering will be on the
Right.
on the menu today at the main household.
And if you're in Fallbrook area on Sunday, watch the traffic because it's the Avocado Festival.
Oh, boy.
Oh, and you know, anything happening in Fallbrook, there's going to be traffic.
Well, they're a
It's a
wild
small town.
bunch, those avocado people. Hey, have yourself a great rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend and the upcoming week. We'll do it again next weekend right here from the iHeart Media and Entertainment Studios, San Diego, California. For the entire crew, I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox, John Begnasco. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching and listening and tuning in and supporting Garden America. Take care.